there were one seed implications in this game. If Alabama was the last four, again, we can sort of get into that. We know that Auburn and Duke have spots reserved. Do we agree that Houston now occupies that third one seed? They won the Big 12 outright for a second straight year. So are we in agreement that Houston gets one? Are they on the one line, fellas?
If they beat Kansas at home and they win at Baylor, then yes, that they're going to be the third number one seed. I mean, look, they have one loss since November 30th, and it came
unbelievable
in overtime by a single point. Right? They have 4 losses on the season, and 3 of those losses are in OT, and one of them was on a neutral court in Houston in the Rockets Arena to the best team in college basketball in Auburn. So in my opinion, I think Houston is very clearly the third best team in the country and very clearly has the third best profile in the country.
Yeah, are you in agreement? Okay.
Yeah, all they do is win in the road. I mean, they've dominated the Big 12 this year, and they beat every Big 12 team in the road. I mean, that's the most insane part of this. But I guess it's not when you think about a Kelvin Sampson team. Is it really that surprising that they're going to be tough enough mentally and physically, to go on the road and, beat Kansas? Now, that game was insane still.
They lose Jamal Shedd. They lose the second most important player in college basketball last year, probably next to Zach Edey. I don't want to take that. I don't want to take that for granted that they're doing this. After replacing.
Yeah, I mean,
this happens every year with Houston. Every year they lose somebody, and we're like, I don't think they're going to be able to replace them. I don't know how they're going to be able to do this. And then, lo and behold, Kelvin Sampson just works his magic. Like he's got the magic. Yeah.
So the crazy part, guys.
Go ahead.
I still remember the conversation when I talked to him. I was actually in Bloomington visiting my daughter. And I called Kelvin for something. It was when they were going in. It was the offseason. And I called him about going into the Big 12. And I said, I'm like, you excited, to go in the Big 12? And he's like, why the hell would I be excited? We're dominating the AAC. We're going deep in the NCAA tournament every year. Why would I want to go into this league with Kansas and some of these other teams that obviously at a high level? So he didn't think he'd do this in his first 2 years at the Big 12. But again, it's a credit to him and his approach and the culture. And, I'm still not sure if they're good enough to win a national title this year. But again, I have in my head still a little bit of that team that I saw in Vegas that struggled. But they are not the same team. And
because UConn is different. Exactly. That's that you have to update your priors 100%. Because he is a totally different dude since you last. I mean,
I got stats for you, John.
And he got better.
I got stats for you, John. In the last 12 games, Milos Uzan is averaging 14 points, 4.2 assists, 4 rebounds, and shooting 50% from the floor and 50% from 3 on 4 3-point attempts per game. He is the difference. Him taking this step into being an All-American caliber point guard. And I don't think he's an All-American, but I think that he is playing at an All-American level right now. And that is why Houston and Jeff, you said you don't think Houston can win a national championship this year. I think this year is the most important part of that sentence because they just happen to have the best team that Kelvin Sampson has ever had at Houston and probably has ever had in his career in the same season that Auburn looks like an unstoppable force and Duke also looks like an unstoppable force. So Houston looks like they might have a Final Four ceiling. I'm doing air quotes here in a year just because they have to have 2 of the best teams we've seen in a long time in college basketball in the same season.